What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today's reaction video is really interesting maps you need to see.
Okay.
General knowledge, I've done this channel a few times, a cool one. This is one where we do little sketches and stuff like that on it, which is awesome. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this content. If you're, smash that like button, smash that subscribe button as well, you absolute legends. Are you ready?
I am ready. I think it's US, yeah?
I think it is US related. General knowledge normally is, but we'll see. If it's US related, it'll be in the title. If not, it's going to be general. Are you ready? Let's go. What we got? Really interesting maps you need to see.
Maps are amazing. They show us the world and sometimes provide us with interesting information or statistics regarding the area which is represented. So in this video, I want to show you guys a few maps that I found really interesting, either because of when they were made, the way they look, or the data we get to learn from them. So here we go. First, the map on the thumbnail. This map gives us a comparative look at how land is used in the United States of America. Obviously, the area itself in terms of regions isn't accurate. It's just displayed this way, so we get an idea of how big they are in comparison to each other. I was really surprised by the gigantic amount of land that they have dedicated to cow pastures. It is a lot. I was also surprised by the amount of corporate timberland, which I imagine is the land where companies grow and cut trees to use/sell the wood. I was really surprised by how small, at least in comparison, the area dedicated to national and state parks is.
That's mad. That just shows how big the US is.
Yeah.
Because when we look at
massive, the state parks, national parks.
Exactly, especially the national parks. I don't know if we're all state parks, but the national parks are huge from what we've seen, and
such a small.
That's a tiny bit. That just shows how big the US is. Yeah, golf. We made it on there. The golf made it on there.
Crazy how golf fields take up more space in the US than do their plantations of maple syrup.
Oh,
although I guess it's more of a Canadian thing. But I mean, how many golf courts do you really need? And also, the 100 largest landowning families hold an amount of territory equivalent to the state of Florida.
So golf, right? Back to golf, because I can't believe golf's actually on there.
There's a lot of courses.
Look how small airport is. It's only just bigger than golf.
No, I suppose so, because you've got to think there's an airport in every state, but it's only that one bit of land, isn't it? You've got some massive ones.
There's probably multiple golf courses, isn't there?
But each state will have so many golf courses. Yes, nowhere near as big as an airport, but they add up, don't they? In the golf thing, for me, it doesn't make a difference. I shank the ball no matter what golf course I'm playing, so.
You're rubbish about how big that size is.
Yeah.
That is a lot. Speaking of America, I found another really amazing map about the North of America too. This is how the region looked like about 77 million years ago, consisting of around 4 major islands and the rest being ocean. In the background, you can see the current continental lines. It's so weird to think how different our world looked a few million years ago. In this case, so much of it was submerged, although in a few cases, parts of the ocean were at the surface. Also, the Caribbean seems as if they were dislocated to the south, but maybe those islands have nothing to do with our current Caribbean, and it's just a coincidence that they are there. The yellow squares on the map represent sites where dinosaur fossils were found. Speaking of places where certain species are found, here is a map of the global distribution of flamingos. This surprised me for 2 reasons. One, how big the range of flamingos is, and the fact that they are found on the majority of Earth's continents, which is weird because they are places with very different climates. But another surprise was the lack of flamingos in certain areas. I'm sure there's some logical explanation, but it seems kind of weird that a species that is present in so many places wouldn't be present in more. I mean, why are they present in almost all of South America except Colombia and Brazil, and why is the little bit of Africa the only part of the eastern coastline that doesn't serve as home to the magnificent penguin?
That is a bit random, the fact that just in the middle of them.
Yeah, that is weird.
The flamingos is like, nope, no go zone. Don't go there.
Animals. Also, why does Nepal have flamingos according to this map, and why does Australia and almost all of East Asia not have any? The next map is about empires. Whenever we talk about history's...
I'm guessing that is where they're bred, like as in where they come from, because we have flamingos.
We have got flamingos in the zoo, but we don't have any flamingos in the wild.
They're wild.
They're in the wild. They're not zoo ones. Obviously, we've got them in the zoo, brought in. But this is like, you'll go down to the beach, East Africa.
Flamingo beaches and stuff.
I guess they stay on the beach. I don't know. But you go down somewhere, whether they stay
You
and
can
they'll
go
be
swimming
there.
with flamingos.
Can you?
Yeah, like you can go swimming with pigs and stuff.
Imagine the swimming with pigs.
You can.
Oh.
Don't lie. You can go swimming to a beach.
Let us know in
On
the
a
comments
beach.
if you've ever gone
I can't
swimming
remember
with
where it
pigs.
is, but you can swim with pigs. You can swim with flamingos.
Wow. There we go.
Just a beach.
Maybe one day. Maybe one day.
No.
Big empires, usually
me.
two of them come up, the Romans and the Mongols, with arguments over how the Mongol Empire was bigger, but the Romans had a more organized system of administration, and so their effective rule over the land was bigger, amongst other discussions. In this map, we can see the two empires side by side. Now, if you don't know, it's important to note that they did not coexist at all. They are just present in the same map here, so that it's easier for us to compare them. The Mongol Empire is definitely bigger, there's no doubt about that, but I do agree to some extent that the Roman Empire is more impressive. Maybe it's just European bias, I'll admit that, but I do feel like a good amount of the Mongol Empire was just empty land and deserts, while the Romans subjugated entire civilizations.
Yeah, each
but
one
then
was
again,
cities.
the Mongols conquered China, so it doesn't really get more impressive than that. It's also cool to see how they overlapped in some of their controlled territory, making it so that these regions in blue and red stripes have a really interesting history of being able to say they were part of two of the greatest and most significant empires in history. This next map is the most interesting one for me. It shows us the educational background of world leaders for each country and overall. Now, the colors used for each of the areas isn't very optimized, if you will, because some of them are too similar to get a clear idea when you look at the map. Politics and economics is the most common education area for world leaders, with 41 countries, followed by law at 35. I was surprised by a few of these. One of them is number 3 at
let's actually have a look.
military. I know historically a lot.
Military makes sense a bit more. You've got that ingrained into you. You're kind of in the system already, I guess. Military makes sense. I'm trying to see what doesn't make sense. Business and finance makes sense, I guess, as well. Engineering and architecture, that's a bit of a different one.
Yeah.
That's definitely a bit of a different one.
Policy.
Social science is a bit different as well. Yeah, there's a few different ones in there, isn't there?
Yeah.
A lot of leaders have been military figures, but in modern times, I was surprised that this is still the case, with the majority of those being in Africa. One that's surprisingly low is public policy and administration, with only 7 worldwide, although counting with a pretty big one, France. Keep in mind this data is from 2018, so some cases might have changed already. Maths is also kind of low, with only 10 world leaders having a numbers background, but also counting with a major country, Germany. And then arts and humanities is, although surprisingly, thankfully high up at number 4. Also, remember that I have no idea if this map, or any of them for that matter, are fully accurate. In this case, they don't really explain if they're analyzing leaders in terms of head of state or head of government. So in the UK, for instance, is it the Prime Minister or the Queen?
If it is a Prime Minister, it's probably changed 4 times since 2018.
I think we've lost and gained.
Yeah, it's probably something completely different.
Back to a map about the US. This one isn't about leaders, but the population itself. This map shows us the largest ancestry groups in the US by county, also giving us a general idea of states and the US as a whole. Now again, to whoever makes these maps, choose colors that are different. Why is French and Japanese almost the same tone of yellow? But moving on from that, I was pretty surprised at some of the results. I had no idea that so much of the US population had German ancestry. It seems to be the most common in number of counties.
I mean, I didn't know about to read. I think we did a video what said it recently.
Yeah,
didn't
I think we did.
But what surprises me actually is the Irish, because I've never really known the US had a big Irish one. But then on St. Patrick's Day, it's massive.
That's so. I think maybe a few years ago I saw the parades and all that for St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
And then that made me realise
how big it is.
Yeah, because like, why would you celebrate it if?
Exactly, but then it seems quite small on my map.
But then it's a big country.
Yeah, no, definitely. But I'd have assumed it would have been bigger just off for St. Paddy Day, because it's everywhere. Everything you see is huge in America. Let us know on that in the comments below.
Though less people live in these areas, so it's not the biggest ancestry group in terms of real numbers. English comes next, followed by African Americans and Mexicans.
Makes sense.
I was also surprised by a few others, the amount of Scandinavians up north, the fact that there are still significant Native American populated counties, especially in Oklahoma, and some Inuit people in Alaska as well. And we should also note the Italian and Irish majorities in the northeast coast around New York, Boston, etc. But like I said, these represent the number of counties where each ancestry group has the majority. They don't represent which ancestry group has the most people, because the US have a very odd population distribution. This map shows us exactly that, with the same amount of people living in the orange areas as in the red.
See, that's
Both
mad, innit?
east and west coastlines have as much people as over half the territory. This is even more radical in some other places, like Australia for instance, where in this map we see that only 2% of the country's population lives in the yellow area. That is really
That is the
cool.
outback, isn't it? I knew there weren't many people. I didn't realize it was only 2% though.
Those lacks of balance when it comes to population over the territory sometimes lead to arguments of how the land should be reorganized in certain countries, especially having to do with political representation. But speaking of land reorganization, here is a map of the US, but with a slightly different division. These are the 20 air traffic control zones of the US, which are not at all similar to their state lines. Florida alone has 2, for instance, but the Salt Lake Zone controls almost 5 different states. Speaking of different land organization, in 1992, a man called Freddie Heineken proposed a map depicting what could be, in his view, a viable United States of Europe, consisting of 74 federalist states. But it's interesting how some countries would remain whole. Portugal, for instance, Greece and Hungary, while others would be very much divided, like Spain, Italy, France, or Germany. Also, this division here of Serbia, Albania, and Montenegro would not cause any trouble at all. This next one is one I'm pretty sure I've already shown in previous videos, but I always keep coming back to it because it's just fascinating to me.
Our world but upside down. Took me a second.
This is our world but upside down. The fact that we map our continents the way that we do is just conventional to my understanding. So what if we decided that north was down and south was up? It's weird how the exact same land looks entirely different. And our perspective of it changes.
Yeah, we technically would get more sun if that's the way it works. Yeah, just flip it, you know, just flick that switch.
As well. Another fantastic one is also one I previously showed in part, but now have in full, and it's this one. A map, or graph if you will, which shows us the continent of America and the countries that are along the same latitude lines. It's very weird to see how different countries with somewhat different climates coexist along the same latitudes.
Does
For
not
instance,
surprise me.
It's weird
That we are on par with Canada.
Yeah, we're getting
bloody freezing.
It is bloody freezing.
for me that Portugal is at the same latitude as New York and Japan, or that the UK is up there with Canada, that Namibia goes along to Australia, or that Cameroon are on the same lines as Indonesia. And finally, this map of Africa, which shows us the locations of giraffes and the distribution of the different types of patterns that they have. First of all, I had no idea that giraffes have different patterns.
I didn't either.
I thought they were all the same.
Yeah, it's similar, like they all just have a uniqueness about it. I didn't realise they had completely different patterns. That's mad, isn't it?
According to their subspecies or something. But it's also cool to see how they vary according to region. And those are a few maps I found interesting and wanted to share with you guys.
That was cool. That was mainly US based.
Yeah.
With a few in there, just interesting ones about the world. I enjoyed that.
That was really interesting, actually. I like the way they do it.
Definitely. General Noise always has great videos. His link's in the description as always. Yeah, let us know what else you want us to check out in the comments below. And what should we do?
Have a fantastic day.
And we'll see you legends in the next one. Peace.